There was a time when I believed that peace could only be found after everything was under control, when every plan worked out, when no one disappointed me, when life finally aligned with my expectations. I chased that illusion for years, tightening my grip on everything I loved, fearing that if I let go, everything would fall apart. But the truth was, it was already falling apart, quietly inside me. The more I tried to control, the more restless I became. My thoughts ran like wild horses. My heart was never still. I would wake in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, wondering why I felt so heavy even when nothing was wrong. One evening, I sat alone beside a quiet lake. The water reflected the fading colors of the sky, soft orange, melting into deep blue. The air was cool, carrying the scent of earth after a light rain. I watched the ripples on the surface, tiny circles expanding, merging, disappearing. For the first time in a long while, I didn't try to make sense of anything. I just watched. In that silence, something inside me softened. A gentle voice, not from outside, but from within, whispered, "You don't have to hold everything together." I remember taking a slow breath, feeling it move through me like a wave, washing away old resistance. Maybe peace wasn't something to earn or build. Maybe it was what remained when I stopped fighting. That night, I realized I had been searching for calm in all the wrong places: books, people, goals, achievements, while the real stillness had been waiting quietly behind the noise of my own mind. So I began this journey not to find something new, but to return to what had always been here, the quiet presence beneath all striving. This is my story, the story of how surrender, the one thing I feared most, became the doorway to the peace I had been seeking all along. I used to believe that control was safety, that if I planned carefully enough, if I calculated every possibility, then nothing could go wrong. My mornings began with to-do lists and ended with self-criticism for what I hadn't completed. I managed people, moments, even emotions, as if life was a machine that needed constant adjustment. Every time something didn't go my way, I would feel a familiar tightening in my chest, as though I was personally failing the universe. I remember one particular week that felt like a storm. I was working on a project that meant everything to me. Deadlines were closing in, and every little detail had to be perfect. I pushed myself harder, slept less, ate mindlessly, ignored the world around me. But the harder I tried to control the outcome, the more everything seemed to resist. Files went missing, plans fell apart, people didn't follow through. I felt like I was fighting an invisible current, swimming against a river that kept pulling me back. One night, after another exhausting day, I sat at my desk, surrounded by scattered papers and unfinished work. The clock ticked past midnight. My eyes burned, and my head throbbed from overthinking. I closed my laptop and stared at the faint reflection of my face in the dark screen. I barely recognized myself, sunken, shoulders tense, breathing shallow. Somewhere deep inside, I knew this wasn't about work anymore. It was about control, about my fear of what would happen if I stopped trying so hard. The next morning, I went out for a walk, hoping the fresh air would clear my head. The city was just waking up. People moved with purpose, traffic hummed, and the scent of roasted coffee drifted through the air. I walked without direction, just following the rhythm of my steps. At the corner of an old temple, I saw a gardener sweeping fallen leaves. His movements were slow, unhurried, yet graceful. The wind kept blowing more leaves down, undoing his work. But he didn't seem frustrated. He simply smiled, kept sweeping, and let the wind do what it wanted. I stopped and watched him for a while. Finally, curiosity overcame me, and I asked, "Doesn't it bother you that the wind keeps undoing your work?" He looked up, his eyes calm and kind, and said softly, "Why would it? My job is to sweep. The wind's job is to blow. We both do what we must." I didn't know what to say. There was no resistance in his tone, no trace of irritation, only acceptance. For him, peace didn't come from finishing the task. It came from doing it with presence. I walked away quietly, but his words echoed inside me for the rest of the day. Later, I realized how deeply I had been trapped in the illusion of control. I believed that if I could manage everything perfectly, then I could avoid pain, disappointment, or loss. But life doesn't bend to our plans. It moves in its own mysterious rhythm, like that wind scattering the leaves. And the more we fight against it, the more we suffer. That evening, I sat by my window and watched the world outside. The sun dipped below the rooftops, painting the sky in soft gold. I thought about the gardener again, how calm he looked amid the chaos. I envied that serenity. I wanted that peace more than any success I had ever chased. I closed my eyes and whispered, "I'm tired of fighting." It wasn't a declaration of defeat. It was an admission of truth. For years, I had believed that letting go meant giving up. But as I sat there in that dim light, feeling the quiet pulse of the world around me, I began to sense something different. Maybe letting go wasn't about losing control. It was about trusting life enough to stop holding on so tightly. Still, it wasn't easy. The habit of control runs deep, like roots buried beneath the surface of our fears. Even as I tried to surrender, a voice inside me whispered, "What if everything falls apart. I didn't have the answer, but something within urged me to keep listening to the silence, to my breath, to the lessons hidden in the ordinary. That night, I wrote in my journal, "Perhaps peace is not in control, but in allowing things to unfold. Maybe the world doesn't need my perfection, it needs my presence." I didn't know it then, but that small realization was the beginning of everything. The moment when the walls of my constant striving began to crack, and the first light of surrender began to shine through. A few weeks later, still restless, but softer somehow, I decided to take a short trip away from the noise of the city. I didn't have a plan. I just wanted silence. I ended up in a small mountain village where a monastery stood quietly among the pines. The air there felt lighter, as though even the wind whispered slowly. I didn't go there searching for wisdom, at least. That's what I told myself. But deep down, I think I wanted someone or something to help me understand what peace truly meant. One afternoon, as the monks swept the courtyard and the bells chimed softly in the distance, I saw an elderly monk sitting beneath a large Bodhi tree. His robe was simple, faded from years of sun, and his eyes carried that kind of stillness that only comes from living without hurry. He noticed me watching and smiled. Small, knowing smile that made me feel as if he could already see the storm inside me. I approached him hesitantly and sat down a few steps away. For a while, we didn't speak. The silence between us was not uncomfortable. It felt like a kind of language that didn't need words. Eventually, I said, "I've been trying to find peace, but no matter what I do, it slips away. The more I try to control my thoughts, the more chaotic they become." The monk chuckled softly. "Trying to control the mind," he said, "is like trying to smooth the surface of a lake with your hand. The more you touch it, the more ripples you create." His words landed gently but deeply. I stared at the ground, letting them sink in. He continued, "Peace does not come from control. It comes from understanding. When you stop trying to calm the lake, it becomes still on its own." He reached beside him and picked up a small cup filled with tea. Then, to my surprise, he began to pour more tea into it from a pot. Slowly, the tea rose to the rim, then spilled over, running down the sides onto the ground. I instinctively reached forward and said, "Stop, it's full." The monk looked at me and smiled again. "Exactly," he said. "You are like this cup already, full of your own ideas, worries, and desires to control. How can peace be poured into a cup that is already?" I felt my chest tighten. The metaphor was painfully true. My mind was so crowded with expectations, fears, and endless mental noise that there was no space for stillness. I had been asking for peace while holding on to everything that kept me from it. He placed the cup down and said quietly, "To receive, you must empty. To find peace, you must stop clinging. Let the tea spill. Let the control go." We sat together for a long time, the sound of rustling leaves filling the silence between us. The air smelled faintly of incense and pine. I watched a single leaf drift down from the tree above, landing softly on the ground without resistance. It didn't fight the wind or question where it was going. It simply fell where it needed to be. The monk noticed my gaze and said, "Do you see that leaf? It doesn't control the wind, yet it always finds its place. Why do you think you must do more than a leaf to be at peace?" For the first time in years, I didn't have an answer. And strangely, that silence felt freeing. I didn't need to solve anything. I didn't need to fix myself. I only needed to stop resisting. Before I left, I asked him one final question. "If I stop trying to control, won't everything fall apart?" He smiled once more. "Everything that is not real will fall apart," he said. "And that is a gift. What remains will be the truth of who you are." I bowed my head in gratitude. He didn't give me a long sermon or a list of steps to follow, just simple truths wrapped in silence. But that silence carried more power than any words I had ever read or heard. As I walked back down the path toward my small inn, the world seemed unchanged, yet everything looked different. The air moved through the trees. The sun touched the stone steps. The river flowed as it always had, but for the first time, I felt as though I was flowing with it. That night, as I lay in bed, the monk's words echoed softly in my mind. "To receive, you must empty." I breathed deeply, letting the tension slowly dissolve from my body. Somewhere between waking and sleep, I realized that surrender wasn't about giving up control of life. It was about releasing the illusion that I ever had it. And in that moment, just before drifting into dreams, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, an unexplainable calm. Not because everything was perfect, but because I finally stopped needing it to be. When I returned home from the monastery, the world looked the same, yet I was no longer seeing it through the same eyes. The city's noise, the endless schedules, the familiar weight of responsibilities of it was still there. But something inside me had shifted, quietly, like a tide changing direction beneath the surface. The monk's words echoed in me every day. "To receive, you must empty." At first, I didn't understand how to empty in the middle of ordinary life. But little by little, I began to notice the moments when I was holding too tightly. The way I argued with reality whenever things didn't go as planned. The way I tried to fix people's moods. The way I blamed myself for things beyond my control. Every time I caught myself doing it, I would stop, breathe, and whisper, let it go. One morning, on my way to work, the traffic was worse than usual. Cars honked, people shouted, and frustration filled the air. Normally, I would have joined that invisible war, gripping the steering wheel and feeling my anger rise. But this time, I took a slow breath and remembered the monk's leaf, how it drifted wherever the wind carried it. I loosened my grip on the wheel and watched the chaos around me without joining it. It didn't fix the traffic, but it changed everything inside me. For the first time, I wasn't trapped in the noise, I was simply part of it, peacefully observing. That day, something clicked. I realized surrender wasn't some grand act of giving up everything and running to the mountains. It was a quiet practice of releasing, moment by moment. It was the art of softening, of allowing things to unfold without forcing them to match my expectations. A few weeks later, my father, who had grown older and slower, asked for help fixing an old wooden chair in the garden. Normally, I would have been impatient, rushing through it just to finish. But that day, I decided to be fully present. We worked in silence, the soft sound of sandpaper against wood, the chirping of distant birds. I felt the texture of the chair beneath my hands, the warmth of the sun on my face. Time seemed to stretch and dissolve. When we were done, my father looked at the chair and smiled. "It's not perfect," he said, "but it's strong again." His words felt like another small teaching. Maybe life, like that chair, didn't need to be perfect, it just needed presence, care, and patience. In the evenings, I began a new ritual. I would sit by my window with a cup of tea and simply watch the sky change colors. I didn't think of the past or plan the future. I just watched. Sometimes clouds drifted in. Sometimes the moon appeared early. Whatever came, I let it come. Whatever passed, I let it pass. And in those simple moments, I felt something secrete, a deep stillness that didn't depend on anything. One night, it rained softly. I left the window open, listening to the rhythmic sound of droplets hitting the roof. As I closed my eyes, I felt tears roll down my cheeks, not from sadness, but from release. For years, I had been holding on so tightly to people, to dreams, to control, that I had forgotten what it felt like to trust life. Now, sitting there in the dim light, I finally let everything fall away. I whispered into the dark, "I surrender." It wasn't dramatic. There was no sudden enlightenment, no grand revelation, just a quiet knowing, like a door opening inside me. I felt as if something invisible had been carrying me all along, and I had finally stopped resisting its flow. In the following days, I noticed subtle changes. I started listening more and reacting less. I stopped trying to control every conversation, every outcome. When things went wrong, I didn't collapse. I breathed and adapted. When things went right, I didn't cling, I simply felt gratitude. Life began to feel lighter, more fluid. Once, I passed by a park where children were flying kites. One of them lost control of his kite, and it drifted high into the sky, string broken, dancing freely in the wind. Instead of crying, the boy laughed and clapped his hands. His joy startled me, was pure acceptance. That moment stayed with me, a living reminder that freedom isn't found in holding on, but in allowing. Weeks later, I found myself back at the lake where my story had begun. The surface was calm again, reflecting the fading evening light. I watched the water move gently, ripples expanding and fading into stillness. It was as if the lake had been waiting for me to understand. I knelt by the edge, touched the water, and whispered, "Thank you." The wind carried my voice across the surface, dissolving it into silence. I felt an immense peace, one that didn't come from fixing or controlling, but from simply being. The monk's teaching had come full circle. I didn't need to master the world to find peace. I only needed to surrender to it. And in that moment, with the sky turning gold and the water whispering softly against the shore, I realized that surrender wasn't the end of the journey. It was the beginning, the doorway to a life where nothing needed to be perfect for everything to feel complete. Take a slow, gentle breath in and let it flow out softly. Feel the air move through you like a calm wave touching the shore. There is nothing to do now, nowhere to go. You are here in this quiet moment, safe and whole. Let the sounds around you fade into the background, one only guiding you deeper into stillness as you breathe. Imagine a soft light glowing in your chest. With every breath in, it grows warmer. With every breath out, it expands a little more. This is the light of your own peace, the peace that was never gone, only hidden beneath layers of tension and control. Allow that light to spread slowly through your shoulders, down your arms, to the very tips of your fingers. Feel the heaviness melting away. Now bring your attention to your face. Soften your eyes, your jaw, the corners of your mouth. You don't have to hold any expression. You don't have to hold anything at all. Let gravity take what it will. Let your body sink gently into the surface beneath you. Feel supported by the ground, by the earth, by the moment itself. Notice your breath again, quiet, effortless. There is no need to force it. It moves on its own, just as life does. Each breath in brings clarity. Each breath out brings release. You are learning to trust this rhythm, the rhythm that never needed your control. Now, imagine you are standing beside a calm lake at dusk. The air is cool, filled with the scent of earth and pine. The surface of the lake is perfectly still, reflecting the fading colors of the sky. Watch the reflection shimmer softly with the evening light. Feel the same stillness begin to settle within you. Thoughts may come and go like ripples across the water, but notice how, when you stop touching them, they fade on their own. You are not your thoughts. You are the vast, silent lake that holds them. You don't need to chase them or push them away. Just let them drift. Let them rest. Take another slow breath in. And as you exhale, imagine releasing every bit of tension, every worry, every effort to control. Let it all flow out of you and dissolve into the gentle air. With each breath, you grow lighter. With each heartbeat, you sink deeper into peace. Now, listen within. Somewhere deep inside, there is a whisper, quiet voice that says, "You are safe. You are enough. You can let go." Let those words echo softly through you. Feel them settle into your heart like calm rain soaking into the earth. The monk's voice returns in your memory. When you stop trying to calm the lake, it becomes still on its own. Allow that truth to guide you now. You don't need to strive for peace. You only need to allow it. It has always been here, waiting patiently beneath the noise. As the last light of the day fades, imagine the stars appearing one by one in the sky above you. Their gentle glow mirrors the calm that now fills your entire being. Breathe in that starlight and let it soothe every corner of your mind. With every breath, you drift deeper into surrender, into the warmth of your own stillness. Stay here for a while, resting in the soft silence. The world is still moving, but you no longer need to move with it. You are floating between breath and peace, between awareness and sleep. Everything is okay. Everything is exactly as it should be. Now, let yourself drift. Let the rhythm of your breath carry you to the edge of dreams. There, in the gentle space between waking and sleeping, peace embraces you completely. You have let go, and in letting go, you have finally come home. As the gentle sound of night settles around you, allow your body to soften, to melt into stillness. The story has ended, yet its essence continues, a quiet whisper reminding you that peace is not something to chase. It's what remains when you finally stop running. You have walked with me through the struggles of control, the surrender of resistance, and the wisdom of release. Now, you stand at the edge of silence, where everything you've been seeking is already waiting within you. Feel the rhythm of your breath, slow and tender. With every inhale, imagine drawing in calmness like a cool breeze entering your chest. With every exhale, feel yourself letting go of tension, of thought, of everything you no longer need. The body knows how to rest when the mind allows it. The mind knows how to quiet when the heart feels safe. You are safe now. You are home within yourself. Let the words of the monk linger in your heart. Surrender is not giving up. It is awakening to what has always been here. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to become anyone. In this moment, you are enough. Every breath you take is a reminder of life's gentle rhythm. Rise and fall, ebb and flow, all balanced in perfect harmony. As you rest deeper into the stillness, imagine yourself lying beneath a sky full of stars. The air is cool and soft. The earth beneath you feels alive, supporting you without asking anything in return. You look up, and the stars shimmer like distant lanterns, each one carrying a quiet truth. You are part of this vast, peaceful universe. You belong to something infinite, something unshaken by worry or time. Now, the boundaries between you and the world begin to fade. You are no longer separate. The air, the stars, the earth, and your breath are one single living rhythm. Feel how light your body has become, as if floating gently in a sea of stillness. There is nothing left to hold, nothing left to fear. Let sleep come to you naturally, like a gentle wave returning to shore. You don't need to reach for it. Just allow it. Trust that your soul knows the way. With each slow breath, you drift further from the noise of thought and closer to the silence of peace. Tonight, as your consciousness softens into dreams, carry with you this quiet understanding. Peace does not arrive through control. It blossoms through surrender. The more you let go, the more the universe holds you. You are safe, you are loved, and you are free. Now rest, breathe, and drift into the deep, endless calm that awaits you. Let the world fade and let peace take its place.